Hi guys, so 30p Lee Anderson led a debate in Parliament a few days ago where he suggested that it was a myth that people on universal credit are in poverty. I know people who are relying on this type of assistance and they are struggling to make ends meet. Anderson started talking about people who earn £40,000 a year and claim universal credit through some loophole. Now, the Department of Work and Pensions have already warned against using this as they say it's nowhere near the norm. The current allowance for households on universal credit is £334.91p a month for a single claimant, while it is £525.72p a month for joint claimants over the age of 25. Lee Anderson here is talking out of his behind.
There is this myth in this country that if people are on universal credit, they are in poverty. And I'll dispel that myth right now. We have people, not just in my constituency, all over the country, it's on universal credit, that's got a household income of over £40,000 a year. Now, that's not poverty. People in London on universal credit, if they work a few hours, there's a loophole in the universal credit system. They can top their wages up by £30,000 a year. That is not poverty. So being on
There's no evidence to support that claim.
universal credit alone is not an indicator that a family are in poverty. So I totally dismiss that idea. But I do admit that some families in this country are struggling and they need our support. I recently visited, well, I say recently, a few months back, I visited a school in Ashfield because concerned parents had contacted me because the breakfast club had been stopped. Now, they'd stopped providing free breakfast because the private funding they secured had run out. And these parents were concerned, not about their own children, they were concerned about the more disadvantaged children, the poorer families in the area. So I contacted the school and I asked what I thought was a reasonable question. And my question was, why are you giving children a breakfast, every single child in the morning a breakfast? I didn't get breakfast. My kids got a breakfast at home. No, it's something that's new to me. So they told me that people were struggling to feed their own children at home. And they also said, I also asked them, have you asked for a donation from any of the families? Because the families I was speaking to wanted to make a donation.
Okay, before we get to the main point here, why should members of the public be donating to the school? Why isn't the school providing this as a service? Like, his first question was not, okay, how can we help the school? His first question was, how can members of the public help the school? What's the point in having a government if it doesn't help the school? Anyway.
To the school. They said no. And when I asked them why they not asked for a donation, they couldn't answer me. And then I asked, why are some families unable to feed their children at breakfast? Why can't they give them a slice of toast or whatever? And they struggled to answer me. Then eventually they said, well, it's the cost of living crisis, isn't it? And I thought, well, Weetabix and a bowl of milk, what does that cost? Not even the 30p that I'm famous for. It probably costs a lot less than that.
Okay, there's a Labour MP who's going to respond to this and do a much better job than I could. But Lee, inflation last year, when it comes to food, was about 16%. General inflation was about 10%, 10%. Many people did not get a pay rise. People on universal credit got very little extra money, not enough to cover the cost of living crisis. And this year, it's currently at around 10%. It may drop down to 5%. That's for general inflation. In food inflation, I'm not sure. Everything is more expensive. Now, why would somebody ask the school for a breakfast, a free breakfast? Can you imagine? A family is looking at, okay, we have this package from the food bank. We need to make it last the week or last until we can ask for another food package. We need to make it last. The school is offering a free school meal or it's offering breakfast for the children. Then what I'll do is, if I don't have money, if I'm looking at the electricity meter running down to pence, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab anything for free with 2 with both hands, with both hands. That's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to say, well, out of principle, I'm going to make sure to feed my children at home. No, if there's an option, I'm going to feed them at school.
So I went on to ask, because I want to help. I went on to ask if I could meet these parents that were struggling, to give the whole holistic approach and see where they were going wrong, see if we could help, see if they got debt problems, budgeting problems, social problems. That's nearly 4 months, and still nothing back. And why have we got nothing back? I tell you because there's a reluctance in certain parts of this country now to get to the root of the problem. It's far too easy to say there's a cost of living crisis. Yes, we know.
It's always about blaming everyone else. This is the Tory way. It's not our fault that you're suffering a cost of living crisis. It's your fault.
We know people are struggling. We know food prices are up. We know energy prices are up. We know all this. But you can't keep throwing taxpayers' money, because that's what it is. It's taxpayers' money that keep throwing at people. That's your money.
This is the guy who claimed 185,000 pounds in expenses last year. Of course, none of the MPs will call him out on this because they claim expenses too. But I'll call him out on it.
That's your constituents' money. That's mine. I would gladly give way.
Talking about, obviously, communities struggling, and we had a report last week that said that the minimum benefit paid should be £120 universal credit. So we've got people who are receiving £85, so they're already down before we even factor in the rent. Does he understand the magnitude of the crisis that people are facing now regarding rent, food, everything that's costing? Is that coming through in your constituency? Because it's certainly coming through in mine, and it's certainly coming through in a national picture as well. So I think you've got to understand and quantify the magnitude of the problem, but also politically, how do we solve it? It's not saying that someone should be able to afford a Weetabix and a pint of milk. So how do we solve this problem where we're seeing millions of people hungry?
I thank my honourable friend for his intervention. Yeah, I do live in the real world. And when I talk about these things at this place, I'm talking on behalf of my friends, my family, my neighbours and my constituents. I'll take no lectures from anybody at this place about living in the deprived area. I would gladly...
Wow, okay, that touched a nerve, didn't it? I won't take lectures from anyone. Well, you're happy to lecture people who are on universal credit. You're on 86,000 pounds a year. You claimed 184,000 pounds in expenses, and you say you don't talk to me about living on the breadline. Everything is more expensive, Lee. That's why people are cutting back on food. That's why some parents are refusing to eat to make sure that their children eat. That's why they're asking, is there a breakfast club? Is there a free school meal? Because that's what I need. I used to be able to feed my family. Now I can't. Energy bills are through the roof. I used to be able to budget, but now I can't. You know, even the money saving expert has given up on money saving and has tried to help people by finding ways to avoid the worst of this crisis. And in some cases, he said, there's nothing I can do. I have run out of tools. Now we need government policy. But it's all about blaming the poor, blaming those on universal credit, people who can't manage their money correctly, people who are spending it on McDonald's and not, I don't know what he wants them to spend it on. And this extremely condescending approach of, well, you know, you can make a meal for 30p if you buy in bulk and ignore the cooking costs. Ridiculous and just absurd and condescending, of course. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.